Welcome to the children's program from Leaside United Church and Rosedale United Church in Toronto. My name is Rebecca. Welcome to the program today. We're going to have a lot of fun. First, we're going to do a movement activity. Then we're going to learn about a story from the Bible and finish with a craft. Today's story is about Jesus choosing his helpers and what it means to be called to follow Jesus. For our activity today, you will need paper, either normal or colored, scissors, a writing utensil, something to color with, and an envelope. You will also need your Read, Wonder, Listen Bible if you have one. If you don't worry, we will do the story together. If you're watching this video live, you can try to quickly gather what you need. If you're watching on YouTube, you can pause the video now and collect what you need. And now we start by lighting the Christ candle to help us remember the light of God's love that Jesus brought to our world. Amen. In today's story, Jesus meets a lot of people by the sea. So for our centering activity, we'll be moving like the sea. To start, we will be still, on a day with no wind. Soon the wind begins to pick up, and we start seeing little waves. A storm is coming in, and now we have bigger waves. And now it's a full storm, and we're going every which way. The storm begins to die down, so our waves become smaller, until they're just ripples on the surface. And now that the storm has passed, the water is completely still. In today's story, Jesus is just starting to travel to speak about God wherever he went. As he traveled, he made a lot of people think with his words, and even though he started traveling alone, soon he was joined by people who wanted to help. Jesus chooses some helpers, page 160. Everywhere Jesus went, people followed him. Why? Maybe it was his words, the stories he told, the way he talked about God using things they knew. Seeds, earth, fields, sheep, yeast, bread, coins, houses, lamps, birds, and wildflowers. Or maybe it was his actions, healing the sick, playing with children, welcoming the lonely. Most people listened for a while and then went back to everyday life, changed for the better. But there were a few who gave up everything, work, home, family, to follow Jesus. Peter, Andrew, James, and John were the first. One day, as he was teaching by the sea, Jesus saw some fishermen mending their nets. "Come with me," called Jesus, "and you can spend your lives fishing for people instead." Who knows why people make the choices they do? Sometimes a door opens and it just feels right to go through it. Without a word, Peter and Andrew got up, dropped their nets on the ground, and began to walk with Jesus. James and John joined them. Their father, Zebedee, sat bewildered, the half-mended nets dangling from his hands. "Wait," he cried. "Where are you going? What about me? What about your families?" But they were already far down the beach, leaving behind a trail of footprints in the sand. Another time, sitting by the sea, Jesus saw a man called Levi sitting at the booth where he collected taxes. Much of the money went to Rome, but any extra he kept for himself, or so people said. "Follow me," called Jesus. Levi stood up so fast that he knocked his chair over. Leaving his tax booth behind, he followed Jesus. Others complained that Jesus had no business spending time with a tax collector, a greedy traitor. But Jesus replied, When people look at my followers, they must see that there is no one outside the circle of God's love. There were women who followed Jesus too. Mary of Magdala, Joanna, Susanna, and many others. Jesus called them all his family. In the story, you heard how many people were called to follow Jesus, and they went with him everywhere during his travels. These people were called disciples. They listened to what Jesus taught them, and then lived their lives trying to do those things. However, the decision to follow Jesus was probably not an easy one. What big changes did Jesus ask his disciples to make? They had to leave their homes and completely change their lives. So why did they do this? Because they felt called to follow Jesus. They wanted to learn about God and spread that goodness to others. In our own lives, we can't follow an actual living person anymore, but we can still follow Jesus by trying to live our lives in the ways that he taught us, by helping others, trying to change the world for the better, and including everyone.
For today's craft, we'll be making kindness notes to give to those around you. Because of the pandemic, it can be harder than ever to reach out to people. So with these notes, you can send them to someone you know and give them a smile. To start, you'll need your paper or construction paper and some scissors. And we're going to draw the shapes that we want on our paper. If you need help with scissors, you can ask an adult to help. I'm going to start with the shape of a fish, because in our story, Jesus is by the sea. And notice how I drew it big enough that there was still room to write in the middle for our notes. I am also going to cut out a circle and a star. What are some other things you can do to follow Jesus' example? Help a sibling? Speak on the phone with someone who might be lonely? Standing up to bullying when you see it? Once our shapes are cut, you can now create your messages. These can be words that encourage others, compliments, pictures, or other nice messages. If you're still learning to write, don't worry. You can either ask a grown-up to help or help to write your words, or draw a picture instead. I'm going to write, "Hearing from you always makes me smile." My next one, I'm going to write, "I can't wait to see you again." Oh, look, it's a friend. This friend is named Shaq. Maybe he can meet Couscous one day and they can be best friends. For my final note, I'm going to draw a heart. And I think I'll put a smiley face in it too. Next, I'm going to put these into an envelope. This is so you can send these to someone in the mail or give them to someone in your home. So I'll tuck them in. And now you can decorate this envelope any way you would like to, using your craft supplies you have at home. I'm going to send these to my grandma, so I'm going to use markers to draw a picture of the two of us. I'm going to do it on this side where the flap is, so that when I send it to my grandma, this side without the flap can be used to put the postage. It can sometimes be a bit scary or embarrassing to speak up and help others. But the more you practice doing small, kind actions, like these notes, the easier the big ones will be. There, my pictures are finished. When you're finished your kindness notes, you can decide who to give them to. If you're sending them in the mail, you can ask an adult to help you get the envelope ready for the mailbox. If you're giving them to someone in your home, maybe you can find a place to hide it, like under their pillow or with their toys. I'm so excited to send out my letter. I know it will make my grandma very happy. And remember that bit by bit, by doing good things and following Jesus, we can make a big change in the world.
As we leave this space, may we give thanks that Jesus went out and taught about God, so that we can learn how to follow him and make a positive change in the world. Amen.